Wow, Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg has some serious financial problems coming out. I want to break some of this down. Today, we're going to talk about Snoop Dogg's most recent allegations about an incident that allegedly occurred back in 2013. Snoop is now being sued by a woman who's accused him of the unthinkable. So, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to talk about Snoop Dogg and hip hop and rappers and whether or not he did it. I'm going to talk about the financial implications of what you might be witnessing at this particular moment. So get comfortable, buckle up your seatbelt. We're going to get started on the Black Financial Channel right now. Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. Welcome to the Black Financial Channel. That's theblackfinancialchannel.com. On the Black Financial Channel, we talk about Black wealth and Black economics every day, sometimes as much as 10 times a day, under one condition. The condition is that we are B1. B1 means Black first. Black first means we put our community at the top of our priority list. Black first means that our kids are going to be the smartest kids. Black first means that our community will be the greatest community. If you agree with this philosophy, put a hashtag B and the number one in the chat, hashtag B1, so we can get started on this conversation. So give me a yes or no in the chat. Yes or no, Ridley, Ron, Mr. Family. Hello to everybody on Instagram. My Instagram is the real Boyce Watkins. How many of you heard about what's going on with Snoop Dogg? Give me a yes or no in the chat if you have been following the updates on Snoop and his some of the movies he's been making. There was three big moves that came with Snoop in the last maybe month or so. Two good, one not so good. One's going to be a challenge. And I wanted to break this down. I want to give you a Dr. Boyce breakdown. I'm not here to gossip about whether he did it or not. I'd rather talk about some higher level, higher order issues that are going on. So first, Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, they have this great commercial for the Super Bowl. If you know, they're performing at the Super Bowl. Snoop was looking real cool, and they had Kendrick Lamar and Eminem and Mary J. Blige, and just really nice layout. You can see some Jay-Z influence in there. I'm sure Jay-Z got all this together, and it looks like it's going to be an epic Super Bowl show, and I know they're going to do a great job. That's event number one. Event number two was just yesterday, and I talked about this on my Instagram page. Snoop acquired Death Row Records. Now, as a little bit of an OG myself who grew up in the Death Row era, I've broken down for you guys the economic implications of what happened when we lost Death Row. That Death Row Records could have been a $200 or $300, $400 billion company. But unfortunately, what occurred was you had some bad economic culture. You had bad culture where the people that were in charge of Death Row were not necessarily guiding the ship in the right direction. You had a lot of crazy gangster stuff going on, just ridiculous stuff happening, people pulling guns out on each other and all this other stuff at the studio. And what it did was it led to eventually Death Row being owned by the same company that owns Mr. Potato Head. Hasbro bought Death Row Records and treated it like a piece of crap asset. This is important for you to understand. You must be very thoughtful about the entities that you believe are yours versus entities that are not yours. It's like if you're banging and you say, I'm gonna die for my block, I'm gonna die for my block. Well, a bigger question to ask is, who the hell owns that block? Who owns the block that you said you're willing to die for your block? Well, if your block is owned by the bank, if your block is owned by white folks, if your block is owned by your oppressor, why the hell are you going to die for a block that don't even belong to you? I mean, at least I can understand dying for a block that's yours. I can understand you saying, this is my farmland, like the hillbillies out west. This is my farmland. Get off my property. I'm going to shoot you, right? I get that. But if you're talking about fighting for something that ain't even yours, that's a problem. And we do that. We do that as Black people when it comes to media. Like, we'll sit around and we'll say, dang, Black Panther was one of the best Black movies ever. Black Panther ain't no Black movie. Black Panther is owned by Marvel. Black Panther is owned by Disney. Black Panther is not a Black movie. Black Panther is a white movie with Black faces in it. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm not saying you shouldn't go see it. I'm saying that you got to understand the difference between what you own and what you just simply committed to. It's like if you're dating somebody, there's a difference, ladies, between the man that is your boo versus the man that is your husband, okay? There's a difference between a chick that I know and a chick that's my wife, right? In fact, my wife ain't even a chick. My wife is the queen, and she's in the other room doing what queens are allowed to do because she's different from somebody who's not my spouse, right? So ultimately, that which is yours is yours. That which ain't yours ain't yours. You guys know I brought on a brother from a different world. He played Daryl Bell. He played Ron on A Different World. And Daryl, I love this guy, by the way. We are like really legitimate friends, and he's a wonderful guy. And one thing Daryl mentioned to me is that I promise y'all, we're gonna get to Snoop and Death Row, but y'all know me. I got to y'all intelligent black people. I need y'all to see more than everybody else is saying. If you want the gossip, go to Shade Room. If you want the gossip, go to World Star or somewhere else. I'm not here just to give you that part of it. I want you to understand what is going on. I want you to understand the power dynamics that are happening here. So one thing that Ron mentioned is that Ron and Jasmine Guy and sorry, Daryl, I call him Ron. I shouldn't call him Ron. He's my friend. Daryl Bell, Kadeem Hardison, Whitley Gilbert, they would all love to bring a different world back to TV. They would all love to do a sequel to a different world. Do you know why they aren't doing a sequel to a different world? Yes, ask me why. Ask me why. Say why, Boyce? Why isn't there a different? Would you like to see a sequel to a different world? Give me a yes in the chat if you'd like to see a different world reboot. Because they did it with Friends, and I don't may watch that crap. So, but yes or no? Would you like to see that? Well, the reason you can't see that is because this black show is not a black show. This black show is owned by Warner Brothers. And Warner Brothers is like, yeah, we know you Negroes like the show, and that was great for us because everyone really lined our pockets when all y'all would line up on Thursday night to watch our shit. But that belongs to us. That's not yours. Like you don't, you people, y'all so cute. Y'all don't even know the difference between ownership is stuff that you're borrowing. You think that paying your rent is the same as paying a mortgage. What? That's so adorable, right? So here's the deal. Death Row Records was a great property because we owned it. And Death Row Records, don't get me wrong, there's a lot you could say about hip hop, though, in terms of when it went left in the early 90s. I think a lot of very toxic culture was being promoted, particularly to young black men, and you see it playing out everywhere. You guys, I don't know if you guys know, last year, 200 rappers got killed last year. So they're really spreading the gospel of death. Some parts of hip hop are spreading a death culture to the community. Just today, I saw one of the rappers, DaBaby, he gets in a fight with his baby's mama's brother, and next thing you know, it's all over the internet, and everybody's talking about it. And God bless. I mean, shoot, I wish I could create a world where as many of our people would talk about things that are going to make us live as we spend talking about things that are going to make us die. But I digress from that. But that's the world that we live in. So here's the deal. Death Row was something that we owned. Snoop bought it back, and I applauded him for that. Because I feel like that's a great acquisition. I don't know what he paid for it, but I could think about a million different ways Snoop and his family and everybody else involved could make billions of dollars off the Death Row Records brand over the next 40 or 50 years. That can be a lifetime financial move if they play it right. Now, here's the deal. So that was the second piece of news. Super Bowl, Death Row Records acquisition. Good for Snoop. Way to go. Proud of you. Then the third thing happens today. Somebody forwarded this to me. My friend Michelle Martin forwarded this, and I was curious to see how much the media picked it up. But there's an accusation. There's an accusation of a woman who says that Snoop did some things that were highly inappropriate toward her back in 2013. And now, if you want to know the details, you can Google them, but I'll give you the quick overview. I'm not going to dig too much into those dirty details, but it did involve forcing male body parts into her mouth, and it would involve first the Bishop Magic Don Juan. If you remember, Bishop Magic Don Juan was this guy that used to like go with Snoop everywhere he went, and he would wear this big bright green suit, and he would always carry a pimp cup, and he had a cane because for some reason back in the 1970s they taught the black man, again, this is white Hollywood doing this to you, they taught you to glorify the pimp culture. Black men in my father's generation, said when we saw these black exploitation movies, again, made by racist Hollywood, we all started looking up to the pimps. So they weren't looking up to the scholars and the teachers and the leaders and the strong men. They were looking up to the men who would say, I'll slap a hoe. Yo, bitch shows me, right? We got into that. We thought that was cool, and we still do. It still happens, right? So I believe Snoop was affected by it. He was victimized by it. So he's hanging with Bishop Magic Don Juan. Bishop Magic Don Juan gives the lady a ride. He allegedly did something to her. That's what she says. Then the next day, she comes in to meet with Snoop and about a job interview or something in Hollywood. Hollywood's a weird place. And she claims that Snoop did some stuff in the bathroom to her that was not appropriate. Now, obviously, this is interesting. This is a complication. Now, I want to ask you guys real quick, based on what I said, how many of you think it's a little bit ironic that this accusation comes out right now? Like, how many of you feel like, okay, come on, man, she's running game. Like, this should have came out in 2013. Why it's coming out now? Really? Like 8-9 years later, exactly the week, exactly the month, exactly when Snoop has just pretty much made two of his biggest power moves in his career. This is right when the accusation comes out. How many of y'all feel like somebody's running a little bit of a game? right? I'm not trying to say you're saying that he did or did not do it, right? We're not here. We are not the court of law. We are the court of intelligent black people, which means, and part of being intelligent means we acknowledge that which we know and that which we don't know. So we don't know what happened between those two. We don't know that. I don't know Snoop's personal life, right? Right. But we do know little basic things that intelligent people understand. Like, I don't know, like this old thing they used to call innocent till proven guilty, right? Or this thing called evidence, that you need some evidence in order to accuse somebody or something. Well, maybe you don't need evidence. Maybe, I guess, you can say whatever you want, especially when you're talking about accusing a black man. You see, accusing a black man is the easiest way to get paid that there ever was. People like Gloria Allred understand this thing. I wouldn't be surprised if Gloria or Lisa Bloom, her daughter, was one of the attorneys who basically said, okay, this guy is making big moves. He's raking in big money. This is the moment to go out with the allegation because we can get a lot of media attention on this. This is how they think. They think strategically in this way. They're not concerned as to whether or not it actually happened. They're not concerned about what needs to be proven because they understand the court of public opinion. In the court of public opinion, there are people out there who believe, who buy into weird ideas. Like, did anybody remember when they used to say believe all women? Like, believe all women? Like, and I was like, believe all women. So you're saying that if a person has a vagina, that everything they say can never be a lie? Like, women are not capable of lying? How many of y'all believe that? How many of y'all believe that we should believe all women just because you're a woman and you said something, it must be true? Anybody think that makes any logical sense whatsoever? Or am I just a big sexist pig for saying, well, maybe people can lie. Maybe women and men can both lie. Hey, I don't know. Maybe lying doesn't happen anymore. But it's kind of a weird thing, right? But this is what politics does. And so when you have politics in the air, people become naturally stupid. The collective IQ of society drops to like sub-zero because people start believing dumb things like believe all women, believe all women. That's as dumb as saying believe all men, because I know men lie. I've told lies. We all lied before. How many of y'all in here? Give me seriously. Let's tell the truth. See, some of y'all be lying. How many of you in this room have ever told a lie? How many of y'all in this room? Give me a yes in the chat if you have ever told a lie. And if you say no, that means you're a liar. You're gonna be a double liar. So everybody confess up. So this is the world that you're living in. This is the world you're living in. This is the world that Snoop is facing. This is the court of public opinion. And this is the ridiculously low IQ that society has, where they believe things like believe all women. So this is what Snoop is dealing with. So here's the deal. This is probably going to cost Snoop some money. Snoop is an interesting anomaly. He is a really interesting psychological experiment in my head, because I'm going to tell y'all the truth. As a black man, I'd never want to be too mainstream. I just don't, because I don't trust them folks. I don't hate white people. Now, if you're white, don't get scared. I don't dislike you, but I don't trust y'all. Like, look at the stuff y'all have done to us is just kind of crazy. You just smear us for no reason. Right? When I simply said I think that maybe we should probably not force Lizzo to go out and promote obesity because thousands of black people die from obesity every year. She's talented. She's beautiful. She could do other things. She could show her singing as opposed to always showing her booty. People, the white media labeled me, oh, that's a sexist black man. That's a black man. He'll probably rape somebody. He a bad man, right? But then black people start dying like flies during the pandemic because of things like obesity, and people forget about that. They forget that people have warned you about this kind of thing. So this is the world you live in. Any black man is probably vulnerable in a way that white people are not. They can say anything about you, and then people will just believe it's true. Goes back to Black Wall Street. Remember Black Wall Street? All of Black Wall Street got burned down. Hundreds of people got killed because a white woman said, that black man touched me. Right? This is history. This is real. This is what the world we live in. So Snoop is an interesting anomaly to me, because I see this guy who has a real interesting background. He's been in some dirt. Remember, murder was a case that they gave me, right? He's been involved in some stuff, and I'm like, wow. But yet he has so many of these corporate partnerships. So many. He's doing TV shows with Martha Stewart, for God's sake. So I'm really curious to see, how's this going to work out for you, bro? Because how are you going to maintain? Only other person I've seen who's kind of been able to maintain that balance is our friend Ice Cube. Ice Cube has come through here. Ice Cube is a homie. He's a friend to the show. So Cube, if you're watching, I love you. So don't take offense to anything I say. If I say something stupid, just write it off as me. Boyce just having a brain fart. But seriously, Ice Cube, cool guy. He's the only guy I've ever seen be able to balance the extremity of gangster rap culture, which ain't always the most respectful to women. It's kind of, some of it's a little bit toxic. Y'all know what it is, right? But y'all know what the crack cocaine era did. CIA puts crack in the black community. Everything goes haywire. Next thing you know, we are mass marketing dysfunction. Our children are inheriting this. That's why when you see these kids going crazy, you know, we made them that way, right? We made them what they are, right? So it's fascinating. They balance the extremities of that gangster culture with these corporate relationships, where 1 minute you're talking about banging and, you know, doing a drive-by on somebody, and the next minute you're doing like a Disney commercial, you know, or you're marketing like Cheetos or something, or you're doing a family movie. I've always been like, how do you do that? How do you balance those two things? Because at some point the two worlds shall collide. And this is an example of what I'm talking about. At some point, that culture, it's gonna catch up to you, right? Because some of it is a little bit unhealthy, right? So you're snooping. You're like, I got endorsements with Pepsi and McDonald's, and I'm not saying he does. I don't know what his endorsements are, but let's companies like that, right? But yet I'm rolling with Bishop Magic Don Juan, this guy who talking about we slap hoes if they get out of line, and then we need to pimp these chicks. You go to remember he came to the award show with the women on a leash, right? like we don't love them hoes, right? That became his whole brand. And I said at some point something's going to happen where somebody's going to start suing. There are going to be people starting to sue rappers for some of the stuff that happens in the studio, right? R. Kelly, just be clear, R. Kelly wasn't the only one doing stuff when he was doing stuff. Now, R. Kelly, I ain't never going to defend R. Kelly. R. Kelly come up in my house, you're going to get hit in the head with a baseball bat, right? R. Kelly comes near my daughters, we have a problem, right? But here's the deal. R. Kelly is kind of the black Jeffrey Epstein, right? I would love to see a tell-all book by R. Kelly where he tells details of all of the experiences he had and names the names of all the people that hung out with him. Because if you go back 15, 20 years, a lot of the mainstream celebrities today were kicking it with R. Kelly back in the day, and they saw what R. Kelly was doing, and R. Kelly would bring a bunch of women to the studio, and they all doing what they're gonna do, whatever, because you know that's what the culture kind of promotes. So this lawsuit is something that I wasn't surprised by. I knew it was gonna happen. Do I believe that there was an assault? I don't know what happened one way or the other. I think it's legitimate to say to ask the victim or the alleged victim or the person who's suing. I think it's legitimate to say, well, wait a minute, if Bishop Magic Don Juan did that terrible thing to you yesterday, why did you come back to the studio to like hang out with him again the next day to look for a job? And that's okay. Like that's what happened. The lady said, you know, that Don Juan did something to her the day before, but then she came back the next day looking for a job. And I was like, you know, so people would ask legitimate questions. Like they'd say, why would you want to work for the person who did that to you? Right. And now we live in a society where it's not appropriate to ask those questions, but I'm not a guy who's into political correctness because I think that some elements of political correctness are stupid. I don't care about being politically correct. I just care about being correct. I'd rather be correct than to be politically correct because political correctness sometimes is dumb. So ultimately, I think it's okay to ask those questions. I think it's okay to ask another question like, okay, so if you had gotten the job, then you wouldn't be suing, right? You'd be okay with that. You'd be all right with the arrangement. Are you upset that you didn't get the job? Because she said, you know, I did not get the job because I did not do blah, 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 bam, 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 boom, right? And in Hollywood, there are a lot of these weird relationships where people make these trades and that's what they do, right? And there's a conversation about that, right? So the question is, who's the victim and who's not? Nobody knows, but we do know this. We do know, and here's what I'm getting at. I want you to pay attention. This is a financial conversation in case you're wondering. See, finance, you guys know my PhD's in finance. So because of that, I can see where finance leaks into other parts of your life. You might think it's not financial, but it's very financial. It's very financial. Why? Well, because for three reasons, three key issues. One, the person that's suing Snoop Dogg does not have to prove he actually did anything in order for her to get paid on a major scale. Just the fact that these headlines alone, the fact that this made it to the news, the fact that NBC is reporting on the accusation, is already costing him millions of dollars in brand value right there. Like there's brand, the part of the damage is done, right? So theoretically, some would say, I wonder if that could have been squashed before it got to the press, because now it's in the press. Now you got to answer those questions. Because remember, you live in a world where you're still a black man. I don't care how many white folks give you money. I don't care how many stadiums you done sold out. I don't care how many times you've been on TV. You still black. And sometimes you get that Paul Mooney Negro wake-up call. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what it is, right? So he's getting his wake-up call. If he were a white woman, he wouldn't be. This is not a risk for white women. White women don't get their brands smeared before anybody even knows what happened, right? It doesn't happen to white women. It happens to black men only. The second thing is, so lawsuit, if once it goes through, to deal with the suit, it could end up costing him millions. And then what that does, see, the Chinese have a saying that the fattest pig always gets slaughtered. So once you're paying out one lawsuit, well, guess what? Every other woman that you've been hanging out with over the last 20 years that needs money could easily come up and visit Gloria Allred, and Gloria will take the case because the burden of proof is extremely low. It's extremely low. You ain't got to be able to prove nothing. Let's just go accuse them, because there's no penalty for a false accusation in that particular context. None that I'm aware of. Right. So unfortunately, here's what I'm getting at. Some people can get what I'm saying, some people may not, but I want you to understand what I'm saying here. What I'm talking about here is, and this is something for your sons to understand, is that in this world, when you're trying to get ahead financially, there's a certain level of discipline and strategy that a black man needs to have that other people don't have to have. And it differs based on race and gender. Black women have to have a type of strategy that men don't have to have. Right. But black men, there's a type of strategy. And when you deviate from the strategy, like when you get to where you're doing, like, remember OJ used to say, I'm not black, I'm OJ. No, you're still black. You just you just forgot. Right. They're going to remind you any moment now. And right, when you get to that point, then what happens is that discipline can go out the window. So you're in an industry, again, you're managing all these corporate relationships. You're doing shows with Martha Stewart and McDonald's commercials and stuff like that with these really conservative, somewhat racist individuals, and yet you're still operating in a space and a culture that doesn't necessarily promote discipline, particularly sexual discipline, right? That kind of says, like, hey, if you go spit on a woman, that's what you do. That's what we do. We slap these hoes. I heard there was a song I heard by Exhibit and Snoop from 2002. And it was the chorus was like, who want to get involved with us? Anybody remember that song? Break down there and call with us, right? And go listen to the lyrics of that song. I want you to listen to the lyrics of that song, and I want you to come back and tell me what you heard, because I listened to that song way back then. This was back when I was on the faculty of Syracuse University, and I was listening to that, and I said, wow. First, I don't think I would do any of the things they're saying. Maybe they didn't do it, but if I did it, I wouldn't put it on a record. I don't think I would rap about it. Right? I'd probably keep it to myself, right? And because here's the thing, chickens do come home to roost. They come home to roost. So unfortunately, what's kind of occurred, and this is some of what that hip hop culture has done, and that whole "we don't love them hoes" culture does, is it kind of paints certain people in a certain way that makes it difficult for you to defend yourself if you are trying to do that. And I know the song came out a long time ago. Somebody said it came out in the late 90s. Yeah, it did. Maybe it was 2001. I think it was after I got to Syracuse. Maybe it was the 90s. I don't know. Either way, the music never goes away. It's out there forever. Right. And so yeah. And now, mind you, this goes into another conversation. Right. I've heard rappers trying to push to set up something where you can't use somebody's lyrics against them in the court of law. And I get that. That's fine. I totally agree with that. Right. I mean, but then again, at the same time, remember, you're still black. And the law, I would not trust the law to protect me if I'm black. In fact, I don't trust nobody to protect me but me. And so even though they are trying to pass laws saying you can't use somebody's lyrics in the court of law, I still wouldn't be rapping about the shit that I've done. You're not going to ever hear me rap to y'all in a podcast about something that I did, that could get me in trouble. Like, it ain't gonna happen, right? So the way that so let's move forward. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. And I want to acknowledge somebody made a donation. So I'm gonna acknowledge. Thank you, Kimberly Marshall, for your donation. She said, I heard everything that you heard. Denver record. I also heard he's going to put out Snoop Dogg's which are hot dogs. Okay, but yes, perfect timing to start a legalized extortion through the court system. Yeah, so I think extortion is a good word to use in some of the cases. I don't know about this particular one, but the timing is quite ironic. I think there are reasons. It's legitimate to ask, well, why wasn't this reported to the police back in 2013? I think it's legitimate to ask, why were you so eager to go work for him? I think it's legitimate to ask, where's your proof? I think that's okay. It's okay to ask. So you can ask those questions and not be a sexist pig for asking that. You're just making sure that you're choosing the right victim and that you've properly identified the potential perpetrator. So a few ways that this could be very costly for Snoop, whether he did it or not. I'm not debating whether he did it. I'm talking about what's real and what's probably happening right now. One, lawsuits are expensive. When you're famous, people sue you just because. They just sue you in case they can get a payout. You do anything wrong, like the baby got into a fight in a bowling alley or whatever, he's going to be in court for a long time. Travis Scott is probably going to go broke because I don't care how much money Travis Scott has made. He ain't got $2.6 billion to pay off all them victims. He ain't got enough money. He won't make enough money in 10 lifetimes to pay off all them victims. So ultimately what that also means is that, again, going back to strategy, you first of all have a strategy that you must pursue to be a stable, successful black man, because you are so vulnerable in so many ways. For example, your son, when he goes to work for that corporation one day, if he gets that fancy job as a senior manager, he has to be thoughtful about who he sleeps with, because anybody he sleeps with that is not at his level or higher in the company can pretty much label him as almost like a rapist, like he really did something terrible because he chose to sleep with somebody on the job. When I first took my job at Syracuse University, this is where good fathers come into play. My father gave me a very simple rule. He said, don't you sleep with nothing on that campus. He said, don't you sleep with no students. Don't you sleep with any coworkers, none of that. And I didn't. And when I was there was another scholar, just like, about the same age as me, a young brother that took a job at Syracuse at the same time that I did. And years later, it comes out that he had slept with one of his students. They had him on the news with his mugshot plastered on the news like he was O.J. Simpson. And this was consensual. This was a 23-year-old student, but he slept with a student in his class, and they treated him almost like he had actually assaulted somebody, right? So ultimately, black men have to be strategic. Now, famous black men have to be super strategic. And this is why, for example, a culture that encourages black men to stay high and drunk all the time is setting black men up for failure, because a person that is high and drunk all the time cannot be prepared for war. You're not able to discern. Your decision making is off. You're not able to identify friend versus foe. Next thing you know, you got caught up in some bad situations because you got drunk at the club. He stepped on your toe and you pulled out your strap and shot him in front of 10 people. Next thing you know, you're doing 50 years in prison. I know a guy who just got out after 30 years in prison for that, in that very same scenario. There's 1,000 others that I can name for you right now. It's important when you educate your sons that you tell them about these things so they don't buy into the culture that leads to black male self-destruction. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is a financial conversation, but then it even goes further than the finance. It's not just about going broke. It's about losing everything. It's about losing the things that money can't buy, like your happiness, your freedom, your family. Those are the things that are at stake. It's bigger than the money. I mean, the money's gone at stage one, but white folks got a million ways to torture you after they strip you of all your resources. Do you understand that? You get what I'm saying? Give me a yes if you get what I'm saying. Okay, this is this real conversation. Nobody talks about this. I don't know why. So 3 ways that Snoop might get hit, and my wife is standing here looking beautiful. I think she wants to talk to me. So I'm going to summarize what I had to say so we can move on our day. 1, lawsuits are expensive. 2, corporations are always careful about brand association. So even if you didn't do anything wrong, a lot of corporations are already backing out of their deals with Snoop or potential deals. Even with Muhammad Ali, when he became a Muslim and said, I love the Nation of Islam and Elijah Muhammad, there were companies that took their deals off the table because they didn't want to be associated with a person who was associated with these scary black people like the Nation of Islam. Oh my God, they're so scary, right? Whatever. Larry Miller, who was on this channel yesterday, who's the chairman of the Air Jordan brand. He's literally the guy who took Michael Jordan's company from 300 million a year to about 2 or 3 billion a year, made it into a global brand that it is right now. Larry Miller was on this channel yesterday. Check out his interview. Larry Miller had a criminal record that was hidden for many years. Smartest guy on the block, nicest guy out there. I love this guy to death. And he also had to live under the intense fear and scrutiny and had to be super strategic to make sure that he didn't lose everything because of something he did when he was 16 years old. Larry is now 70, dealing with situations he got caught up in when he was 16. Do you understand what I am saying when I tell you, as a black man in America, you must be triple, quadruple, quintuply strategic about everything that you do? That means that you better think twice about going out and getting drunk and high every day. That means you better think twice about laying down with any thought that walks up with a big booty. It means you better be super careful about who you have in your circle. Even Snoop understands this because he put something on his Twitter. He said something like, hey, nephews, gold digging season's among us. Keep your circle small. Right? So even Snoop understands a lot of what I'm saying. He could probably explain this better than I could. It sounds like he just got caught up in something. I don't even know what happened, though. I don't even know if he knows this lady. I'm not even accusing him of anything. I'm just giving you what I'm seeing right now. And again, it goes deeper than just talking about how much money he's going to lose. It's going to cost money. There's no question about that. The question is, how bad will the damage be? The third component, the third reason that this could be a financial drain potentially, because remember, they drained the hell out of Bill Cosby. The third reason it could be a drain is because when you're talking about brand association and corporations wanting to do business with you, a lot of people won't touch you because you become toxic from an allegation. They are literally thinking, okay, not only is this person toxic, but the thing is, you have the known, the unknown, and then you have the unknown. So the known is, okay, we know the Snoop Dogg. He's real cool. The kids love him. He's great for our pot brand, or maybe he can also sell milkshakes and cheeseburgers because everybody loves Snoop, right? Then there's the unknown. It's like, dang, I wonder if Snoop really is guilty of these things that he did. I mean, I wonder how much money they're going to charge him in this lawsuit. He got sued by this lady. Dang, we don't know how much that's going to be. That's a problem. But then you've got the unknown. The unknown is where you go beyond the problems that you see right now and you think about what problems could emerge later on down the line that we don't even know about, right? So if I'm Coca-Cola and I'm thinking about signing a deal with Snoop, and then I'm thinking, maybe this case is the tip of the iceberg. Maybe now that one person has successfully smeared Snoop or sued him in public. Again, I'm not going to call it a smear because some of y'all may believe the woman, and you have a right to believe whatever you believe. I'm not questioning your beliefs on any level. But they might be thinking, well, what if there's an avalanche of lawsuits? Like, what if it becomes a Bill Cosby situation where he got 60 accusers, right? And an overwhelming number of people coming out the woodwork, right? You don't know. So tell me, yes or no, would that at least make you skeptical about signing a long-term deal with somebody like that? You're going to be like, damn, I don't even know, man. I don't know what you got going on. I don't know what you might have going on in 2023 and beyond. I don't know, right? So this is all, the challenge, I think, of being a black man, first of all, but then being a famous black man, that adds another variable. But then being a famous black man in a culture that isn't always super healthy. A lot of the reason that rappers die before 50, a lot of them, is because they weren't exactly encouraged to live a healthy lifestyle, right? And all these things, again, this goes back to investing, because the biggest investments you'll ever make in yourself are investments in your physical and mental health, investments in your family and in your relationships with, like, your children, right? So you see a rapper going around with a bunch of women having 85 kids or whatever. You didn't invest in your kids, and now it's coming back to destroy your legacy, right? And so you look at a Bill Cosby, you see a guy who made a lot of great investments in his life, but there's some other areas where you could say maybe he should have invested a little more in protecting his family. Maybe that means when all the snow bunnies and all the Beckys are chasing you and making you think you ain't black no more, maybe you need to go and go home and see your wife. Or maybe if you are going to do some things that you don't want everybody to know about, maybe you have a little more discernment instead of bringing 300 crackheads through your hotel room all of whom are very happy to sign onto a lawsuit to make this Negro write me a $5 million check just so I don't accuse him of anything. Strategic. Black men got to be strategic. Teach that to your sons. Get them to learn math. Get them to play chess. Do things that are strategic. That's what makes them smart. Well, I got to go, guys. My wife was coming here to give me the funny, evil eye, like she needed to talk to me about something, and I respect her, and I need to go and hear what she has to say. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this conversation was beneficial. There was nothing. Oh, shit. I dropped my mic over. There's nothing negative implied about Snoop Dogg or anybody else. So all my friends on the West Coast out in LA, you know I love y'all, and I respect Snoop, and I wish him the very, very best. And also, if there's a victim here, I wish the best for the victim. I just want the truth to come out. So I want to make that 100% clear. So you guys have a wonderful day. Please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe before you go. If you want to learn more about some of the stuff I have going on, the Black Business School, all that, you can go to boycewatkins.com. That's my website, boycewatkins.com. We even have a wealth building program for kids. Black millionaires are tomorrow. So if you're interested, feel free to stop by boycewatkins.com and we can take care of you. God bless you guys. Have a great day. Love you. I'll see you soon. Peace.